E-Prix of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, and we have taken over the streets of Italy's capital city for the 2021 Rome E-Prix. It's been over a month since the opening rounds of the season in Diriyah, but now the action comes thick and fast. 5 races in the next 6 weeks will be key in determining who will be the first ever Formula E World Champion. Will it be Antonio Felix da Costa, the reigning champion? Will it be one of the Envision Virgin Racing drivers, Robin Freitz and Nick Cassidy? Lucas di Grassi looking to get back towards the top of the championship standings after his most difficult season last year. The Dragon Penske team were impressive last time out, as was Eduardo Mortara, scoring a podium in the first race in Diriyah. And Sebastian Buemi, the champion in Season 2, will be looking to be in the mix as well. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in commentary is the Indy 500 winner 3 times, Dario Franchitti. And this is how the championship stands in that fight to become the first world champion. Nick de Vries is at the top after winning the opening round of the season and then finishing 9th in race 2. Sam Bird won race 2. He's there in 2nd. Robin Freitz had 2-point scoring finishes, and that's why he's there in 3rd position. But there are some big names with 0 points. Jean-Eric Vergne, Sebastian Buemi, both without a point after the opening 2 races of the season. You're getting a few looks here at the superb Rome E-Prix circuit that we'll be taking a closer look at later on, but Jaguar are at the top of the team standings. They finished on the podium in both races. Mitch Evans with a 3rd place in race 1, Sam Bird with the win in race 2, but that means both of them will be out in the first group of qualifying later on today. And this, Dario Franchitti, is the pretty much all-new Rome E-Prix circuit.
What a place to race, Jack. 3.4 kilometres. Starting off turn 1, steeply downhill. This is part of the old circuit. Turn 2, heavy braking 3, longer straight into 4. Critical corner, turn 4, because it's steeply uphill through 5 and 6. Across the start line, more uphill for 7, very bumpy on 7. Then you've got this rhythm section, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13 chicane. I think it's going to be easy to make a mistake there. Right-hander, 14, lovely corner, and 15 attack mode on the outside. Another rhythm section to finish the lap. Long lap, and that really changes the strategy quite a bit, but fabulous, fabulous track to race on.
Yeah, we're very much looking forward to seeing that a little bit later on today. Here is the turn 15 Marconi hairpin around the Marconi obelisk, an attack mode on the outside here. This is a really unusual corner. I feel like we haven't had a corner like this in Formula E before.
Yeah, look at this, the shape of it. It's kind of a teardrop shape, and it allows sort of a lot of different lines. And the drivers were all sort of standing around yesterday during track guide looking at the different ways to do it. As we see Alex Lynn on board there, he's hoping to get some points this weekend, get some the pace of the Mahindra, him in the Mahindra, very good, but no points so far. But yeah, that corner is phenomenal. It's I think there's going to be some real action there today, and especially when you take into account attack mode way on the outside of the corner. Sam Bird, winner of race 2 in Saudi Arabia, 2nd in the points.
Yeah, very impressive, winning in only his 2nd race with the Jaguar team, Sam Bird. And he is all set to go out on circuit in 45 seconds when the pit lane will open. But that is the championship leader, Nick de Vries. Now, race 1 was mighty. Race 2, not so much. He gained places in the end, mainly through crashes and disqualifications, but that's what we're going to see this season. We're going to see drivers have a strong race and then struggle when they're in Group 1 qualifying next time out.
Yeah, and if you remember, obviously they didn't get to even qualify because of the issue in the Mercedes powered cars had an issue in qualifying actually in practice, that they weren't allowed to qualify. So I thought he did a great job, and it's looking quite ominous. Obviously a past Formula 2 champion, he knows how to win championships, and he's very, very fast.
So the first 45-minute free practice session gets underway now. Everybody departs out onto the track. The 2 DS Cheetahs are at the front, and those are the 2 cars that have brought a new powertrain to this race. They didn't have it in Diriyah. They were still running their championship winning powertrain from last year. Now they have the brand new FE E-Tense 21. And what is the performance in that car going to be like? Because they were really strong in Diriyah, even though they might not have got really the results to back that up. They could have won. I think if race 2 had gone the full distance, they might well have won it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was despite crashing into each other quite a lot. they had a really good go at taking each other out of the race on a couple of occasions, and there was some, I think, some stern words afterwards. And I think when the red mist cleared, both drivers thought, oof, okay, that was probably a bit much. We'll maybe just throttle it back a bit.
So this is the climb up the hill from turn 4 at Ninfeo Park. This is over the start line hatchings and then up towards what will be the first corner of the race at Piazza Gandhi.
So right there you've got a bit of a jump, and then it's a compression. You can see already the marks on the track. That's where the floor, the wooden floor of the car has been hitting the ground. And we saw some pretty spectacular moments there yesterday. And right in the middle of the track you can see there's a manhole cover. You don't really want to hit that with the middle of the car, because that will make the problem of the car touching even worse.
There's a look at the Colosseo Quadrato part of the circuit there. The official title is the Palazzo della Civiltà Italiana, designed in 1938, finished in 1943 as part of the construction of this EUR district. And now the run down towards Christopher Colombo Road here, and then the Marconi Obelisk, and straight on goes Jean-Eric Verne down at the right-hander of turn 14.
We do see Jean-Eric struggling with when the brake balance maybe isn't perfect, and it's, you know, the regeneration hasn't come in yet, whatever. He tends to struggle a little bit that, but when he gets it right, boy, does he get it right. The turn 14 that we just looked at, where Jean-Eric Verne went straight, we've kind of ignored it a bit. We're talking yesterday, but I think we were discussing this yesterday, Jack. I think it's a real overtaking opportunity. Look, just at the last moment as he started to turn in, lock the right front. And that's a horrible feeling as a driver, because in your mind, your brain is already, and your balance, you're already turning into the corner. And when you have to change your trajectory quickly, it almost gives you a little bit of, makes you a little dizzy. Oh, there's another lock-up. Whoa.
Just a bit Blomqvist.
It won't stop. Now, there's a problem there, I would say. That was very odd, because he wasn't going quickly, and it just kept locking up. So maybe some setting changes there, I would imagine.
So here's Antonio Felix da Costa, the reigning champion now. That's the bottom of the hill, turn 4 at Ninfeo Park. Now he's climbing up, and as I say, this will be the start straight as well, around the beautiful parkland area on the side of the hill overlooking the city. And look how narrow it is going up. This is going to be a case, it's a little jump almost into a compression when you then come up.
I just said that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I know, but that really, really showed it.
Imagine that at 250, at 25% of power. It's going to be pretty spectacular in qualifying. Then you've got to get the thing stopped for turn 7, because that is absolutely key.
Da Costa, who is 5th in the championship after finishing 3rd in race 2, finished 11th in race 1, was promoted actually up to 3rd after his teammate Jean-Eric Verne was given a penalty for not using both of his attack modes during the race.
Bizarre penalty. It's not his fault the race didn't run its full-timed distance. There's a big bump right in the track before they turn into the chicane in 12 and 13. And again, when that's going to really cause some issues, I would say, because I'd noticed it before. That chicane is difficult enough to actually spot the entry to it and the apex point. So when you put that big bump in consideration too, it should be a bit tasty.
Da Costa coming through Piazza JFK now, and then into this final corner on the circuit. The left-hander.
This is race control. Full course yellow in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow. Full course yellow.
So full course yellow deployed by Scott Elkins as just a test of the systems, basically. Nick Cassidy got caught out a little by the full course yellow in Diriyah. That's why he ended up with a penalty that dropped him down and out, really, of contention in the points after crossing the line fairly well in 5th position. But this is just a test for the marshals and all the protocols to make sure that it all works.
You see at the top of the screen, 50 kilometers an hour pit lane speed now. They get a warning when they're going full course yellow, and then they get a warning when it's going to end. And at that point, you're then trying to jump the car in front of you and get the slightest advantage if you possibly can.
Hashtag Rome E-Prix if you want to get in touch on social media. This is on board with Sebastian Buemi. Now Nissan, one of the...
Attention all teams, this is race control. Full course yellow ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
Bit of wheel spin there for Buemi, but Nissan, one of the teams that were due to bring their new powertrain here to Rome, but have decided to delay it a little. So again, they had some pace in Diriyah, but it was quite difficult to tell. Oliver Rowland was impressive in qualifying and in the races, but he was always in Group 1 on both occasions. So we never saw them really at the front of the field.
Oh, and they had all those issues in Group 1 as well. He was one of the guys that actually made it to get a qualifying lap in Group 1, who timed it to perfection both days in a row through turn 11. Look at the track narrows on the exit of turn 11 down this very narrow straight over the bump into the chicane 12 and 13. And again, when you're in full qualifying, 250 kilowatts of power, coming down there a lot quicker. That bump on the entry to 12 is really going to come into play.
Then swing right, opening up into the Via Cristoforo Colombo.
This is where those different lines we talked about, Jack, are going to come into play. And in the race, that's going to be fascinating if people can actually go around the outside of somebody else, maybe do the cut back. It's just multiples of options there, and it's a fabulous corner.
Buemi now heading into sort of the back streets area, climbing up that rise and through the final corner at 19, out across the line. Da Costa is quickest at the moment as we then drop down the hill towards Trefontaine at turn 3.
Yeah, that as they start to drop down the hill, it happens pretty suddenly, and then it's almost blind, and that's tough enough on your own. But once you get into the sort of cut and thrust of the race, and you're on the back wing of somebody else, it really requires a lot of confidence and bravery to keep your foot in and go down there flat out.
The two Mercedes running together on track. Stoffel van Dorn ahead of Nick de Vries, now climbing the hill up through Ninfeo Park. And as we said, de Vries was very impressive. Van Dorn also, but de Vries actually admitted yesterday that he kind of looked strong because he was in a favourable qualifying group in Diriyah. Okay, it was Group 2, but his teammate Stoffel van Dorn was out in the first group of qualifying. Not to take anything away from de Vries' performance, but he, said himself that was a benefit for him, especially in Diriyah. Now, to my eyes, the track is not looking as bad as it did in Diriyah in the opening stages in terms of sand and dust and dirt. So maybe Group 1 will be a little bit less of an issue here.
It's definitely less sand than there was in Diriyah. No, the teams have been saying that they think that Evolution will be more like a normal racing circuit, so you won't get those. Maybe Group 1 will not be such a big disadvantage today. Lower wide line from Stoffel van Dorn into the turn 15 hairpin. He took a more traditional line. That hairpin is actually a bit banked, Jack, on the inside. It's bumpy, but it's banked as well. So as he comes through 17, 18 is actually a little bit uphill, and it's got a bit of a bank to it. This through 18, up this slight hill. It's a bit quicker, that corner, than it might normally look.
Roland is quickest at the moment on a 1 minute 43.761, but as you can see, there's a lot of drivers out there who are yet to set a full fast lap, and the lap times are just changing all of the time. Here is Nick de Vries, the other Mercedes-Benz EQ driver, after we had that little look at Ian James. He's coming up, well, he's behind his teammate. They're both coming up behind Nick Cassidy, and this is it's also a real learning track for all of these drivers that we probably haven't had in a while, because most of them had been to Diriyah before, but none of them have raced on this configuration of road.
No, and they've spent days upon days in the simulator, but some guys are saying, yeah, this was spot on to work for our simulation. Other guys are saying, this is quite a bit different than we thought. So there's nothing like, as much simulator time as you spend, there's nothing like getting into the car and actually feeling the grip level of the tarmac, the different bumps, all those little nuances when they build the track. And yeah, as you say, the engineers have got a run plan to go through all the stuff they need to get sorted out for the E-Prix this afternoon. But the drivers, they just need to get familiar with the circuit.
35 minutes left on the clock. And Nick de Vries now coming into this hairpin that we saw at turn 14. Wrestling with it as he came through. You can actually see the old grid hatchings on the way in, because that was where the start line was last time we were here, on that run down towards the hairpin. Da Costa goes up to 6th quickest. Roland's still at the top of the times. They're both coming up behind Nick Cassidy in the Envision Virgin car, who's seeming to sort of hold them up a little bit now, and it's probably a tricky moment for Mercedes. What do? Do you try and get past him? Do you try and drop back because you're not doing the run plan you want? And so they're getting stuck behind the Envision Virgin racing car of Nick Cassidy, and there's the other one of Robin Freitz coming down to the bottom of the hill at turn 3 at Trefontaine, and he is just up in front of one of the Audis of Lucas de Grassi. Audi powertrain in the back of both of those cars. Freitz finished second in race 2 in Diriyah. He qualified on pole position fairly impressively, but he's struggling at the moment with front-end grip on cold tyres in that Envision Virgin car, he's saying.
So we've seen that the slipstream is more and more important in Formula E. So actually the Audi at the moment of Lucas de Grassi will be gaining information, although he's probably getting held up a little bit. He's gaining information on the efficiency. He'll keep sitting behind here. The efficiency of the lap has gone up, and that'll give them good information. The same thing with the two Mercedes-Benz EQ cars behind Cassidy. They're getting information for the race because the car in front has got more drag. The car behind's getting the benefit of the slipstream. It will be definitely more efficient. I hit that chicane, Jack. I can see somebody overdoing it today. It's so difficult to thread the needle through there. And all the drivers will be just looking for the smallest advantage. As we see the back view as they go into turn 15, they're all kind of using a similar line at the moment. You see the attack mode activation zone at the bottom of your screen, all the way out there. It's going to cost a lot of time to go into attack mode today.
Yeah, almost to the point where you might not gain that time back in the grand scheme of things,
especially if you lose a position. Yeah, there's not many massive braking zones here, so it's going to be quite difficult. There's a lot of sort of medium level braking zones, we'll say, but I think passing is going to be I was going to say quite difficult, but we say that and then it turns into an absolute crazy race.
So it looks as though Mercedes did decide to back off their drivers away from Nick Cassidy, but they've basically backed themselves into Robin Freitz, and Freitz has now got I think René Rast right behind him. So the Audis have swapped places as well, because it's René Rast who is now behind Robin Freitz, which is a bit of a... So they're all sort of switching positions to try and be running in a way that they want to be.
You know, and at this point as a driver, if you're Robin Freitz, you've probably gone on the radio going, look, I need to pit, you need to fix this car. You probably use a few more words that we can't say, but you know, that's the gist of it. The team say, no, we've got to go, stick with the plan, we've got to get all this information. So there's probably a bit of an argument going on the team radio.
Rast did fairly well in Diriyah. Did the German, the DTM champion 3 times, and he qualified 3rd in the first race and finished 4th in the second. He ran as high as 2nd in the first race of the weekend, René Rast, but he eventually lost out to Mortara and Evans, but then didn't set a lap in Group 1 the next day. He started at the back and ended up finishing 10th, but had full course yellow penalties and attack mode penalties and all that kind of stuff.
They had a busy afternoon on the penalty front, but it was a good drive. Let's hear from him.
I'll leave a gap.
Yes, you can leave a gap. You have Sims 2 seconds behind you and Lucas is 7 seconds behind you.
Okay, so that's Felix Fechner on the radio saying, yeah, okay, you can drop back, find yourself a bit of clear air if you want, and that's exactly what he's doing here.
Did you see him look down? He was looked down, adjusted the wheel, adjusted the settings on the powertrain as he's getting that gap. Double header of the weekend, so we'll have 2 sets of tyres for the whole weekend. It's actually no, come on, I know this. It's 6 or 2. 6 or 2 sets, is it, for the double header? 2 whole, yeah. But when you decide to use those, is absolutely going to be key. See one of the Venturi's pulling over to the side. No Mortara. He had an eventful Diriyah. They had an issue and had a fairly sizable shunt in practice. Didn't do the second race.
Yeah, which was a shame, because he had a really strong drive in race 1, finished 2nd, and had a great overtaking manoeuvre as well. Lucas de Grassi now coming up, bouncing his way towards the Piazza Gandhi at the top of the hill at turn 7.
Lucas has got a different line over the compression and the jump. That's interesting. He goes more to the left. Jake Dennis in the runoff in turn 14.
Now, is that mechanical, or has he made a mistake? When I say mechanical, I mean electrical.
I know
probably,
what you're saying,
but because he's at an odd angle, but I can see he would have gone in deep, but he's being told to put it in reverse on the radio, so maybe that's what he's trying to work out how to do.
I've been that man. It sounds simple, but sometimes it's so complicated actually putting, whether it's a Formula E car or internal combustion car, to get the thing in reverse. And then they normally say, okay, wait 3 seconds. When you're sitting there and your pulse is up, 3 seconds feels like about 2.5 days.
You hold the top left paddle?
No.
It won't go in.
Are you in neutral or standard gear?
Or is he might have...
Oh, he's got it now.
Well, no, but is he just rolling?
The bit where you don't want to do a big old power slide and smack it into the wall.
Getting
I think he was
there.
Yeah, and the marshal cannot. You think, why don't the marshals just go out? They cannot go out onto the circuit when the track is green.
This is at the bottom of turn 14, and he's still trying to get it into reverse. Let's have a look at Nico Müller coming up the hill through. We're going to side by side. Oh, goodness me!
Held that man.
Wow.
That'll get your pulse up.
Yeah, and Jake's found reverse. So there we go. Rejoins the circuit down at turn 14 and rejoins the circuit. Roger Griffiths, the team principal, watching his man who is currently... Why can't I see him on the timing screen? 6th quickest. So not too bad for Jake Dennis at the moment, but obviously it's not going to be super representative yet. Alex Lynn here, who retired from both races in Diriyah, but certainly had pace in race 1, running up towards the front of the order. Made it to Super Pole, didn't he, in the first race?
Yeah. And I think pace in race 2 as well. He was behind Mitch Evans. He started had an issue at the start line actually, and but definitely had pace. So the pace is in that Mahindra car, and they're feeling confident about getting some results on the board.
This is the chicane, and then out towards 14. Lynn was complaining about the traffic with Norman Nato on the radio, but Nato subsequently moved out of the way as he comes through 14 down now into the Marconi hairpin.
And you can see when they're still trying to regenerate, basically the rear axle is regenerating energy back into the car as he locks up into 16. But when they're doing that, that's where you see it, because really it's only the back brakes that are working at that point, and that's where you see the back of the car sliding around. Alex Lynn absolutely sliding the car through 18 into 19 as he crosses the finish line. 7th quickest. Now, there's a massive offset between the start line and the finish line. Normally in Formula E we have different start and finish line locations. There's such a massive offset. It's over 1 kilometre. So that changes the, with the race. It's 45 minutes plus a lap. But that extra kilometre or so is quite different. They're going to have to regenerate about 30% energy today, plus or minus, into the battery.
Sergio said it. Cameras had a spin by the looks of it, coming into the Piazza JFK, the left-hander of 17, where there's a lovely pizzeria. And Pizzeria Corner he's spun at. So there we go.
So I was talking to Jay Penske about Sergio Setti Camera, and he said he's just flat out. It's checkers or wreckers, as Jay said.
Right, here's a look at this bump then. Bump/jump, and yeah, some are going to the left, some are sort of staying to the right. It's quite interesting.
You don't want to go in the middle, though.
No.
As this person is. Whoa! Yeah. What is that about a jump? It's just cool. Yeah. Jumping sparks. I'm easily amused, but jumping sparks is a good thing.
It's Lucas Di Grassi coming around.
Yeah, Lucas, look, he goes over to the left, but it's still pretty bad.
And then this was the moment for Müller. He goes to the right. Whoa, that's such a big moment.
Especially, it's probably on the regen paddle.
Yeah.
And the bump is so big that it's actually overpowering a lot of the systems in the cars.
Oh, interesting. So, quickest driver at the moment, Sam Bird in the Jaguar. Oliver Rowland second, Robin Freitz in 3rd position. Bird, who won the last race, won the last time we were in Rome. So that's all looking positive, but apprehensive, I suppose, about qualifying, and the whole Jaguar team are, because they have both Bird and Evans out in the first group. They're the only team to have 2 cars in the top 6 in the championship. So it's going to be a tough afternoon today for them, at least, as there's the racing director of the team director, James Barkley, watching on.
But they're hoping, obviously, that there's the track evolution isn't too bad, and that'll allow them to get. So again, you're not so much this point in the season, but as the season goes on, you're a lot of the time you're racing. Your main competition is the other people in Group 1 with you, so you've got to try and get any advantage you possibly can there. But it's definitely frustrating for the drivers, and frustrating for you, Jack. I know the qualifying format gives you some frustration on occasion.
Yeah, now and again. Pascal Wehrlein qualified 2nd on the grid in the opening race of the season in Diriyah, slipped back to 5th, he felt the pace was strong because he was running second in the early stages behind De Vries, keeping up with De Vries.
Yes.
And then as soon as they used the first attack mode, he felt that the pace went away and that he wasn't able to keep up as a front runner anymore. So that'll be something that Porsche will want to look into, but certainly had the better weekend compared to his teammate Andre Lotterer, who didn't score any points in the opening 2 races. So this is Blomqvist and Bird coming up the hill.
Yeah, thanks Neo and Jaguar for the matching liveries. Much appreciated. Verlaine had that incident with Jake Dennis where it looked like he just drove him into the wall. I mean, it was like he knew he was there and he just kept going, and he got a penalty for that during race 2. But it was quite aggressive, shall we say. Sam Bird, as you said, Jack, top of that's pretty run. But yeah, that's through the chicane. Driver's eye view coming down to 14. Nice and neat there. Sam Bird past winner here in Rome. Let's see what he does in 15. Slightly wider, cuts back in. And the Neo gets out of his way. Over Turvey.
On a corner like that, where you can take sort of different routes and different... How do you decide what is it? Are you able to tell with the data what is definitively the best line, or is it what works best for you as a driver and your driving style? How do you end up coming to a conclusion on what you're trying to do there?
I think a lot is to do with your driving style, what the balance of the car will allow you to do as well. And sometimes you might think, oh, it feels great, and engineers will go, actually, that's crap. It's just not good. You're going to have to try something different, and then you say, well, I need this from the car to allow me to do that. So you've got to really sort of play around with it a bit, and because we've got 2 practices and straight into qualifying, it's not a luxury you get to sort of go home and think about it overnight. You've also got your natural technique, which can play into things.
Andre Lotterer in the Porsche, teammate to Pascal Wehrlein, and he is the most successful driver in Rome. On the podium both times in the Rome E-Prix, 3rd and a 2nd. Never had a win in Formula E. He's finished 2nd 5 times in races, but never on the top step.
And he was quickest in both group qualifyings here, in both visits to Rome. There you go.
So again, as we mentioned before, a pretty different track, but nevertheless, always gone well on the streets of the Eternal City as Andre Lotterer, but wasn't an ideal start to the season for him in Diriyah. He just missed out on Superpole in the first race, and then he was running in 8th place when he picked up a puncture, and that forced him to pit and change his tyre, and then crash out of free practice the next day, which meant he missed qualifying and had to start at the back. So, you know, the sort of top 10 solid points seemed doable from race 1, but then it all kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah, and he wasn't the only one to crash in practice. You know, we saw Robin French do it. Eno Mortara had that issue. It wasn't his fault, but there was a bunch of guys that actually had fairly big crashes. As you say, the circuit, different layout, but it's got a similar feel to it. The corners are very similar shapes. The rhythm of the circuit is quite similar too. And the surface, a lot of it is actually the same surface, which is so important, and the grip level, the bumps and everything. But the last third of the lap is almost the sort of turn 16 through 19 is almost a uniform surface, especially Nico Müller.
Scored his first points in Formula E in race 2 in Diriyah. The Dragon Penske Autosport squad running with the same powertrain that they did in Diriyah, and qualified 6th, Müller, and crossed the line 7th, but after penalties was promoted to 5th place. So very strong performance from both he and Sete Camara, but it's good to see Dragon getting on top of that powertrain that didn't really do much for them last year. A couple of points in the very early stages of the season were all that they had to show for their year.
And we talked about that, the powertrain, saying, oh, it's going to be difficult for them. Not at all. They've always had the pace in qualifying. They had the pace in the race in Saudi as well, and as you say, Jack, that was good to see.
It's the Dragon's best result since the final race of season 2 in London. That 5th and 6th place, sorry, the 4th and 5th that they picked up in Diriyah.
That's quite a weight.
Yeah, it's sort of they've had higher finishes than that, the odd podium, but as a sort of team result goes, the 2 of them getting good points, it was the best since the days of Loic Duval and Jerome D'Ambrosio. Through Piazza JFK now. right at 18, up to the final corner at 19. And then into the pits.
You could see some of the corners have curbs at the apex and some have the wall. The curb's much easier because it gives you some margin for error. With the wall at the apex, you want to get as close to it as you possibly can, and it's very, very easy to overdo it, especially you see above the front tyre, there's that fender. It's very difficult to position the car with a lot of accuracy because of that.
Things were much better for the Neo 333 outfit in Diriyah as well, after a year of scoring 0 points, and Oliver Turvey scoring 0 points. They managed to get off the mark. Turvey scoring points in both races in Diriyah. Came across the line in 10th in race 1, and then had a good performance in race 2 as well. So things a lot better for them. And Christian Silk was very interesting yesterday, the team principal, because he was describing it as when you're at the back, you just have to aim for the low-hanging fruit in terms of performance. If you want to make your way up the order, you're not sort of getting clever and finding little tricks and things. It's like, no, you got to do the obvious things right to get you into the mix, and then you progress from there, is what he was saying.
Absolutely. You get diminishing returns as you get closer and closer, and it's harder to make that performance gain, but they made a huge gain, and you could tell just talking to some of the Neo team yesterday, they were just so much happier. Again, same thing with the Dragon Penske organisation. Definitely feeling better about life after getting some points on the board.
Turvey through the Marconi hairpin and now into Piazza JFK. He's never scored points in Rome, and last time we were here in season 5 he was 1.1 seconds slower than Mitch Evans in the qualifying group, and then starting in 18th position. So it was a tough one, but he was running in 5th actually in season 4 before a collision with Heidfeld and Lopez ruined his race. A pile-up at the hairpin, if you remember, just before the pit window. And his teammate Tom Blomqvist was 5th on the grid in the second race and was running in 9th position, but then got hit by Max Gunter, and that's why Gunter has a 5-place grid drop for this one. Now we go driver's eye on the climb up the hill through Ninfeo Park. We might be on board for the bump here.
Yeah, watch as we turn to the left. There's a big dip, and they just missed that as they get into the apex. Over the start line now, things are about to get bumpy. There you go. Oh. And that's the driver's head moving. It's up steeply uphill into 7. And you can see somebody's already hit the wall on the right-hand side. This is his rhythm section. 8, 9, 10. And watch how quickly this happens. You don't want to overdo 9 because you've got to have immediately. Oh, he's slowed down. Maybe he's doing some energy saving, bit of traffic ahead. Look how difficult it is to pick out the apex of that chicane as you approach.
Through the chicane now down to Cristoforo Colombo.
Checking the mirrors as he does so to 14. This is not a full speed lap by any stretch of the imagination. Up to 15, another look down at the dashboard. Trying to pick out your apex, looking further round the corner. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find some reference point to the exit of the corner. That tells you when to get back to the throttle, how much you can come off the brakes.
Now into Piazza JFK. Left-hander at turn 17, right at 18, and then the final left-hander at 19. So Blomqvist started that lap quite aggressively, but
Here he goes now,
plunging down the hill. This is quick stuff down here.
Yeah, it is. And that was him starting a lap, but the right-hander at 2, I noticed that they're sort of almost giving up a bit of pace in 2 to get the braking correct for 3. Normally you could sort of really use more of the road in 2 and go quicker through there, but they're finding that it's actually a faster lap time to back off a little bit through 2, keep it hard to the right-hand side of the track to open up your entry into turn 3.
Jean-Eric Verne in attack mode at the moment. He is looking for, and he's testing his fan boost as well as he comes up over the hill. So that's quick when he's at 250, isn't it?
Fantastic.
He didn't score any points in Diriyah. Crossed the line in 3rd in the second race, but as mentioned earlier on, got that penalty for not using his 2 attack modes.
Bizarre.
I don't mind. You're not. I don't mind that penalty.
The race is 45 minutes plus a lap, so you can use your you can choose to use attack mode in those up until that point. But
yeah,
then they say, oh, by the way, sorry, it was red flagged after 40 minutes. Oh, you didn't use it. Oh, there's a penalty. But this is the length anyway.
but that's the game you play. That's the risk you play. It's the same if the race ends under safety car, for example, and you haven't used it. Yeah, you'd get the penalty. No, I understand. I do understand where you're coming from, of course.
I can definitely see. Nice slide there for Jean-Eric. Yeah, I thought it was an odd one, but anyway, them's the rules, as you say, Jack.
Robin Vrine's quickest at the moment on a 1 minute 40.061. He has been in attack mode. Verne now goes to the top on a 39.792. As we saw, he was in attack mode and did his fan boost test at the top of the hill. Here's a look at René Rast. Is we going to see a bit of Rast on the bump? Oh, that was a rather... Oh, so he was trying to avoid Lynn. So Lynn sort of backed off. Rast pulled to the left to go past him and then nearly went on the bump.
Bit of Scandinavian flick there. That was...
McNish with a nod of approval.
Crikey.
Yeah. Now to the top of the times, Oliver Rowland on a 1 minute 39.618.
Oliver Rowland just quietly goes about his business.
He was my, if you read my blog on the FIA Formula E website, Rowland was my, don't read it when we're on air, like help me out with the commentary, but
okay.
he was my most impressive driver in Diriyah because he was in Group 1 both times, scored points both times, and was actually quickest in Group 1 both times. And I think that's a very, very strong performance, where considering he was in Group 1 and to pick up 2 points, and he's 7th in the championship, and crucially he's 7th in the championship. I think he has the same amount of points as Mitch Evans in 6th, but Evans had a better finishing position of 3rd. Oh, he had one less. One less. But that means he's in Group 2 for this qualifying session this afternoon. So Rowland is maybe my favourite coming into this one, honestly, because in Group 2 and he was super quick, but then you look at some of the drivers that we have out in Group 4, like Sebastian Buemi, for example, or Alex Lynn. And Group 3, you've got Verne and Lotterer and Van Dorn and De Grassi. So, but I think Rowland was deeply impressive in Diriyah.
Yeah. We agree on something, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. De Grassi slots up into 3rd place.
Got yellow at turn 14 again. People are struggling a little bit with the braking into 14.
Is that one where there's a bit of margin for error in terms of runoff, so you can push it a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna. There's most of the areas in the Formula E track. There's just no margin at all, and we're definitely going to see people just when you do have that luxury, you're going to push it just that bit harder. And when we go to Valencia,
yeah,
a couple of weeks, you're definitely going to see, I think, a different mindset from the teams and drivers.
Here's Nick Cassidy going down the hill, followed by Mitch Evans, the 2 Kiwis who have raced together for many, many years, going back to the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand. But we're on board here with Cassidy, who was fairly unlucky in Diriyah, really. He nearly made Super Pole for his debut race, but the yellow flags that were out for Sete Camera meant his lap time was deleted, and then he also got a penalty for not using his 2nd attack mode, and after crossing the line in 5th. So he was fairly happy with how Diriyah went overall. I think he gave himself an 8 out of 10 for his sort of personal weekend performance, which was...
I was impressed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there was... he drove a great qualifying lap. It was all action, wasn't it? He was absolutely hanging on down the hill in Saudi Arabia. There's 1 corner into the next, 10 corners in one, and he just was absolutely wringing the neck of the car on the limit. Massive oversteer, and I think him and Sergio Sete Camera were probably the 2 most enthusiastic qualifiers. Sete Camera the first day hit, so we got a red flag here. Sete Camera. Oh,
Blomqvist in the wall.
Red flag.
Exit of the chicane.
Now, it's 14, isn't it? Cristoforo Colombo.
Oh, yeah.
So just where we were saying we're seeing plenty of yellow flags, Tom Blomqvist very much in the wall there.
Now, we saw earlier who did we see very early? They started to lock up and they immediately went down the escape road. Blomqvist tried to ride it out, and there's the result. Vern, exactly. Got Blomqvist down the, see on the map.
Apparently Blomqvist got told on the radio there's a red flag, and he said, yep, I'm the one in the wall.
Oh, I've been that person.
I think he was following Turvey really closely in the back end way.
It was the rear, yeah. We didn't lock the fronts, locked it. He was probably trying to hang on to regenerate all the way in through the apex, and you saw what happened there. That'll be an easy fix, though. It's not. I don't think that's a big. It's not a big shunt. Yeah. So anyway, Sergio said to camera, we're talking about qualifying, and I said to him about causing the red flag, and I said, you know, you hit the wall coming out of such and such. He said, yeah, but I hit it about 3 times before that.
So Andre Lotterer returns to the pit lane. Well, everybody will have to return to the pit lane now.
Andre Lotterer's using a Bell helmet after years and years of using Arai. You know, he raced in Japan a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I wonder if that's so he can put the driver's eye camera, because Bell are the only ones that can do that at the moment. I wonder if that's part of the decision.
How often did you change helmet suppliers?
Early days, quite a lot, because it was who would give you the sort of the free helmet, basically. And then when I got
when
to...
you became a megastar?
Then it was, I changed once.
Right.
That was it. And I used Arai for, a long time. And yeah, I still do, even on my new career as a motocross rider. Got a new one the other day.
8 minutes left on the clock. Those Arais have seen some action, haven't they?
Not yet, but they'll definitely see.
The old ones.
Oh yeah, the old ones. There's
so
a few.
just everybody be aware that the Manitou is on track, so take great caution going through 14. So any cars left on track, please take great caution going through 14.
So that's Scott Elkins, the race director, just telling everyone to take extreme caution through 14. It is red flag, so they will be going slowly as we look at Cassidy.
That's an Arai helmet, but he's got a funky interior. Look, Arai normally don't do that colour of interior, but I think because he raced in Japan and won everything in Japan, he can probably say, hey, I want that.
What, so a helmet, they're a helmet where you say, oh, can I have a blue inside? And oh, no.
Yeah.
Not possible.
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah.
You'd think they'd do anything.
Well, they make it fit very nicely.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sure.
But, yeah. Oh, look at that. So Mitch Evans, he's moving the steering rack. There's a lot of play in the steering rack, it looks like. He won't be happy with that. Or trying to see if the wheels are moving at the same time. You can see the mechanic trying to plug in the umbilical cord that sends all the data back to the various computers in the garage.
So there is Tom Blomqvist's car getting removed. Front left is done, but that's about it, honestly.
Yeah, front wing, front left, suspension, which will maybe steering rack. It puts a shock through the rack. You don't want to reuse it. You get play in the rack, and it can then fail afterwards. It's not worth the risk. So new steering rack.
Happily, Jake Dennis not driving the recovery tractor because he's managed to find reverse and is pulling Tom Blomqvist's car back off the track. There is race control. Scott Elkins there on the sort of in the middle. Yeah, the man in the middle. And Stoffel Van Dorn getting ready to go back out. The session will restart fairly soon, I would have thought, because it looked pretty much clear, didn't it? Jean-Eric Verne has just returned to the pit lane, because that's the thing, it's a long lap here. It's not the longest in Formula E history, but it's 3.4 kilometers.
Yeah, 3.38.
And sorry, 3.38 exactly, and I think the longest was Beijing.
First race.
Yeah, which was 3.44. So we're in that realm. So if you've just come past, you know, the pit lane when the session is red flagged, you've got a long time to go around, going very slowly.
Think about that in the race. It's a timed race, 45 minutes plus a lap, and for every minute you're under safety car or full course, or talk about safety car, you're under safety car, full course, and actually full course yellow too, but 1% per minute taken away energy-wise. This safety car will take a long time to do those 3.38 kilometers, so might have a big change to the strategy of the race, depending on if there are safety cars, how long they are and when they fall today.
Right, 5 more minutes then of free practice one. Roland's still quickest at the moment, a 1 minute 39.618. He's been through attack mode 4 times, Oliver Roland. Verne, De Grassi, Freitz, Evans have only been through once, so he's done a lot of attack mode running as the British driver.
Yeah, and Lotter and Rast and Gunter have not been through at all. I'd be wanting to have a wee look at that. Now, at the moment, it's 8:40 in the morning. it's pretty cold outside.
It is, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit chilly in the comms box, actually.
Yeah, exactly, because we've got the door open. But
shut the door.
when the sun comes out, it's going to heat up the track. Look how dark the asphalt is. It's going to change things quite a lot. What the teams have to do to get the tyre into the operating window. So that will have quite I would say, a sizable effect on the way things go. I see the Mercedes dancing around on the brakes into 14.
Not due to be as sunny today as it was yesterday, and actually it looks as though
Attack now. We use attack now.
There you go.
That's Gunter being told we use attack mode now, and we'll see what happens when he goes for his hot lap in a moment. But yeah, it looks as though the forecast rain was for today and tomorrow. Looks as though it's going away from tomorrow as well. So
that's
good news, I suppose, or bad news. I don't know.
I wanted a rain race, especially all these painted lines on the circuit. Those are like ice. Remember we saw the race that Robin French won in Paris. It was a fabulous race to watch.
Yeah, 10% chance of rain at race time tomorrow, so not huge. Here is Gunter then down to Trey Fontana. He has crashed out of 5 of the last 7 Formula E races.
Out of turn 4.
Out of turn 4, maybe that's test attack mode. Yes, it is. So, fan boost at the bottom of the hill as he comes up the hill.
A lot of understeer in turn 3. The track narrows down on the exit, but he looked like he was really struggling just to keep it out of the wall. Let's wait for the bump here. Right up against the wall. That looked quite smooth. On the Max Gunter line, hard up to the wall on the right, worked quite nicely. He's got traffic ahead of him though. One of the Nissans. So Nissan got some damage on the left.
I thought that, but
I think maybe it was the angle, Jack. We saw the rear wing sort of interfering with the view of the front.
Up through the Colosio Quadrato, and then into the Ciro chicane here at turns 12 and 13.
It's a sizable step up in the tarmac. As it's not difficult enough, the chicane into 14 gets it stopped. Yeah, very good.
Through Cristoforo Colombo and then into the Marconi hairpin. Around the obelisk. Fairly neat and tidy for Gunter at the moment. You can see the purple flashes, so I think we are going to see some drivers setting their full power lap by the looks of things, not just a little fan boost test, which is what Gunter did. So they're all going full power at the end of this one. Across the line comes Gunter, goes up into 4th position. As we look at Roger Griffiths. And Van Dorn now, that's the first representative time. A 1:38.847 for Stoffel Van Dorn is the first really representative time that we've got out there, and we'll see what everyone else can do in comparison. Roland's on full power. This man here, Nick Cassidy, is on full power. Let's check out this bump on. Again, he's managed to smooth it out a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if the teams have just started working with the dampers a bit more, maybe raised the right height of the car, but they look a lot smoother over the, certainly over the bump. We're not seeing any sparks anymore, which is disappointing for us in the comms and you guys watching at home.
Gunter complained on the radio of massive understeer, which you identified down at turn 4. Here comes Cassidy towards the Ciro chicane. Swings it into the left and then the right, and then down towards the right-hander. There is a yellow flag out at turn 7, so that's the top of the hill at Piazza Gandhi, and it is Sebastian Buemi. So it didn't have damage before, still might not have damage. Oh, that pulls back out onto the track right as the Jaguar was coming past.
And you think, Buemi, what are you doing? But the way you sit in the car with the halo and the head protection, it's very, very difficult to see exactly on the angle where the Jaguar came from.
De Grassi's gone to the top, 600ths quicker than Van Dorn. Bird has gone 3rd, 4/10 of a second or so away from Lucas de Grassi. Nick Cassidy comes across the line and goes up into 3rd place, 3/10 of a second adrift of the Audi of de Grassi. And then Nico Muller up into 8th place. Here's Jean-Eric Verne, who's in the middle of the running, setting camera up into 3rd. But now we're going to get into the realm of the drivers who might have come across the yellow flag and had their lap ruined, really, by Sebastian Buemi's off. Here's Lynn. Comes through sector 2 now, 6/10 of a second away.
And did you see as he turned in, the front wheel of the car came off the ground, so running quite a soft rear in that car. And as he comes through 14, how aggressive into 15? Yeah, again, it looks like all the drivers have almost migrated to the same technique. through turn 15, attacking turn 16.
Jean-Eric Verne did the fastest first sector of anyone. We've got the running clock on him down on the bottom right in the DS to Cheetah. He's a 10th down after the middle sector on Lucas de Grassi's time. Alex Lynn comes out of the final corner now and goes up into 12th place. Verne goes up, oh well, only remains in 10th, so it was a slow middle sector actually, in particular for Jean-Eric Verne, and Lucas de Grassi might end the session quickest here. A few more drivers to set laps. Here comes Robin Freitz. He's actually only 200ths down after the middle sector. The Envision Virgin car comes across the line, and it is third for Robin Freitz. Lost a quarter of a second to de Grassi in the final sector. Now we've got the Jaguar of Sam Bird, and I think Bird had already set his full power lap, hadn't he? Yes, and there through attack mode goes Sergio Sette Camera, getting out of the way of Jake Gunter, Max Gunter, in the BMW I Andretti car. So this is his full power run now. We followed him for a lap 2 or 3 minutes ago, but he was just in attack mode. Now he's in full power. Gunter out. There's the checkered flag with the timing line, and Gunter remains in 14th position. So everybody's finished their laps now, and it's Lucas de Grassi who ends the session quickest. Now, I don't have this stat to hand, but it feels a long time since Lucas de Grassi. Oh, big one in the wall for Turvey. Wow. That's Oliver Turvey in the wall, and there's another car in there, is there?
Turn
and this is up the start.
6.
This is up the start line.
BMW. It's one of the.
Oh, maybe there's someone. Maybe someone was doing a practice start, and someone. It's Jean-Eric Verne. So is Turvey gone into the back of Verne?
We're going to abort start practice. We're going to start abort practice. Please have. Take care, please. Let's roll.
So red flag out, and that. Look, from initial viewing, my thinking is someone's gone to do start practice. Someone else hasn't realised that start practices are happening.
Well, this is good that we see Jean-Eric Verne getting out of the car.
Yeah, even though he's not actually really meant to at the moment.
Yeah.
And he's...
Wow, look, there's a drive shaft. You can see the back.
Oh, it's a big hit.
Problem is, if
he's thinking, am I out of qualifying?
Yeah, because if the gearbox is damaged, that's a replacement, and you get 2 gearboxes for the whole season. Max Gunter still staying in his car. Yeah. Oh, I don't like the fact he's sitting down, like his neck. If you take an impact from the back
everybody
of the car.
stand by. I realize that the track is blocked. We're going to send medical and get everybody there. Send some marshals there to clear a path. Just everybody
in that
have some
situation,
patience, please.
Jack, when you've had a big impact like that, the first thing you want to do is you want to get out of the car.
Yeah.
I mean, I've tried it with broken pelvis, all kinds of things. Your instinct, get out of the car, just walk around, and it's. And the safety crews want you to.
Turvey's out as well,
exactly
so that's great news.
Yeah.
Because Turvey's been involved in this, and so has Jake Dennis, who's on the left-hand side in that sort of wrecked BMW. The medical car's there now.
Please, just have some patience, everybody.
I think they're going to have to wait for a long time to sort of clear everything up and away, because all of the cars behind won't want to be driving over this carbon fibre.
I was going to say, from a purely just technical point of view, that's the last thing you want to do, because these tyres are going to be used today, and the carbon is very sharp.
Yeah.
On board with Sergio Sette Camera, driver's eye view.
But it looked as though certainly Oliver Turvey was out of the car when his car was in a bad way. Jean-Eric Verne has climbed out of his car as well, and looks as though Jake Dennis has got out of his BMW as well now, also on the left-hand side. And those appeared to be the 3 that were involved predominantly in that accident. So Oliver Turvey making his way back to the garage now, I would have thought. Well, he'll go with the medical team. We'll try and obviously get to the bottom of what exactly has happened here. There is Jake Dennis on the left-hand side in the BMW, but it is Lucas de Grassi that has ended the session quickest in the first free practice session in Rome that's ended in rather dramatic style. So there is Dennis and Verne and Turvey about to get in the car. None of them really sort of talking to each other. And so this is the rear view from Buemi. Oh my goodness me.
Oh, wow.
So I think it is. So I think it's Turvey that's come charging round, not knowing that practice starts are happening or some such.
Again, we've got a different start line and finish line. They finished earlier.
This is on board with Mortara, so everyone's trying to make, and there Turvey arrives.
Yeah. You know, the start line is out of the last corner 19. The finish line is out of the last corner 19. Start line is turn 7. It's half a lap away, so a bit of confusion. I think there's a bit of problem with the radios. We've struggled with, certainly with the microphones and stuff. I think under the trees, a lot of the metalwork, the radios do struggle to, and maybe there was a miscommunication there, but not good. Glad everybody's okay.
Yeah, nasty accident there. But as we say, they're all out of the cars. Turvey, it seems, has gone and sort of collected Dennis and Vern, seemingly. But that's a real frustration. And you saw the fury from Vern, and you also saw, honestly, the fury in Turvey's face as he sort of looked back at what had happened there. Lucas de Grassi ends the session quickest at 1:38.785. 600ths of a second clear of Stoffel van Dorn in the Mercedes. Robin Freitz is third. Fourth for Sergio Sete Camera, Norman Nato fifth. Cassidy Bird, Roland Dennis Evans the top 10. Vern 11th, Muller 12th. And then Lynn in 13th position, but a lot of these drivers wouldn't have got their full power qualifying lap done. Sebastian Buemi ending the session slowest, 4.1 seconds off the pace. So he was obviously doing a lot of race running, almost for the whole session. I would have thought for Sebastian Buemi. So the first free practice session got underway. Everybody bursting out onto the circuit. Mitch Evans having his first run on this Rome track, where he took his first win for Jaguar a couple of years ago. Lockups in the early stages. Tom Blomqvist coming down the hill. Buemi in the Nissan up towards Piazza Gandhi. He would end the session slowest, Sebastian Buemi. Great onboard shot of the chicane. And the two Mercedes were sort of swapping places and having a bit of, trying to find a bit of space on the track in the early stages. Muller had this big moment coming over the bump. Huge sideways moment for the Dragon driver. Lock up from Alex Lynn coming into turn 4 at Ninfeo Park. Beautiful look down at the Colosseo Quadrato. Oh, someone picked up a bit of Eduardo Mortara picked up a little bit more advertising for ABB. And then this Turvey and Blomqvist coming through the right-hander at 14, and Blomqvist ended up in the wall. So it's going to be a busy day for Neo, because they've not only got to repair that, but they've also got to repair Turvey's car after a big crash at the end of the session. Lucas de Grassi, though, ended the session quickest. Jean-Eric Vern involved in that accident at the end. So make sure you join us for free practice 2 in a couple of hours' time. We'll get to the bottom of exactly what happened. This is the view back from Sebastian Buemi, and there Turvey just arrives, maybe not full speed, but at quite a lick, and goes into the back of Vern and Dennis. Buemi, interestingly, saw that in his mirrors, maybe, and gave it a little bit of throttle to get out of the way. Well, action-packed opening on the streets of Rome. We'll see you for free practice 2. De Grassi quickest after FP1.